Hello guys, my name is Troy and welcome back to my booktube channel. I hope you all had a very good Valentine's Day. Remember that Valentine's Day is not just loving others, it's also about loving yourself. And in the spirit of Valentine's Day, I thought I would go over 10 books that I absolutely loved. These books aren't necessarily my favorites or my top 10. These are just books that I really love and want to share with you guys today. So before we start, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my booktube channel. We're on the road to 600 subscribers. Comment down below what your kind of 10 books that you're loving right now in the comment section down below, and I'll gladly respond to you. Also, make sure to tap up here to see my last video. It was a 40-minute reading vlog, and I'm sorry guys, it was so long. I know not a lot of people actually watched the whole way through, but I really do appreciate those who did. But it was a really fun reading vlog if you want to see kind of how I prepared for my big booktube launch. It was a lot of work. All right, I think that's all I have to say. Let's jump into my first book. So let's start off with A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And so like any other Sarah J. Maas book, these books are raw, these books are emotional, gripping, real. Like, these books are amazing, and this one specifically in this world is amazing, and the romance in this series is like, oh, amazing. And you've probably heard me talk about this a lot of times because this book is just so good, and it was one that I just really love, and so I love to kind of spread the news about it all the time. And so this book is about this kind of 19-year-old girl named Feyre who has to provide for her family. So she's hunting every single day, trying to trade. She's doing all in her power to keep her family alive in this really harsh winter. And so one day she's hunting and she hunts down this wolf that is not actually a wolf, it's actually a high fae, and it's kind of beast form. And so then the next day or the next night, there's this beast that comes knocking on her door and kidnaps her because she violated the treaty of killing a fae. And so now Feyre must go to this new world, Perithian, and basically live with her captor Tamlin for the rest of her life. But everything goes amiss when there is this ancient curse that arises, and Feyre also starts growing a romance or a passion for Tamlin. And so this book is just amazing, and it just keeps on getting better throughout the series. And so again, this is just such a real novel. Like, everything is so real, and there's like some dark moments and depressing moments. Like, it's just good that way, and it's also really funny and really happy and really lighthearted at times. And it's just, I love the world, love the magic system, love the world building. It's just an overall amazing series. Alrighty guys, next up is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, and this is just an amazing series, except the last one. I don't like the last one, but the first two books in this series are really good, and you know, just really kind of eye-opening about how our world works. And you know, it's an amazing dystopian. I really love dystopians for the fact that they kind of guide us in how we should go about the future. And so in this story, there's this girl named Katniss Everdeen who is, you know, living a normal life in the District 12, but not normal life because she's really poor and she has to hunt every day, and she really has to like fight to provide for her family and keep them alive because her dad died, and so she's having to like be kind of the man of the family for her sister and her mom, and try to like, you know, bring in a lot of, you know, food for them. And every year there are these Hunger Games where a boy and a girl from each district, she's in District 12, there are 12 districts, so there's 24 people, 12 girls and 12 boys that go into this Hunger Games that are selected randomly, and they all have to compete and fight for the death. And it's just basically entertainment for the capital, which is like the main district, but they're all kind of rich and they have all these supplies and stuff, while the other 12 districts are like, you know, poor and really need the capital's supplies and stuff. And so one year, you know, Katniss never expects for 1 year for her sister to be Drew, but 1 year her sister actually is picked to fight in the Hunger Games, and immediately she's like, no, I'm not gonna let my 12-year-old sister go into the Hunger Games. And so she steps up to take her spot, and she has to kind of fight her way through the Hunger Games, survive, have romance, and it's an amazing story. A lot of people have already read it, but if you have not, this is an amazing story, very gripping. Again, the dystopian factor and how just a lot of political systems are broken, and you know, we need to kind of just use this book to guide us in the future. Again, it's just really, it's also interesting, the games and how like they all just kind of like the mentality of people after they've had to like depend on killing others to survive on their own. Like, it's just a really interesting and complex novel that I can't really explain, of course. So yeah guys, I just really love this book. 5 stars. Next up is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This was a recent read, and I really loved this book and the writing and the author, and so I really want to tell you guys about this today. I also made a reading vlog, so if you want to tap up there, it was my 500 subscriber special, and I read this all in one day, and I discussed all my thoughts in there, but I want to quickly go through this today. So this book follows 2 main characters that are apprentices to a scythe, and so in this world, the humans have mastered death, have mastered starvation, thirst. Like, there's nothing that can kill humans except fire. They've mastered death, and so they have to control the human population, and then there's these scythes, and so the scythes have to kill a certain amount of people each year to control the population, or else it'll just get wild because, you know, everyone's living. And so Citra and Rowan, again, they are apprentices to the scythe called Scythe Faraday, and they have to learn kind of the scythe ways. But when the scythe world kind of collapses in on itself and there's this kind of political war, Citra and Rowan are actually faced and pitted against each other to, you know, compete for this spot being a scythe. And I just really enjoyed this book, like this futuristic feel, like the futuristic feel of this book. There was, like, you know, this kind of death, and I mean, it wasn't like bad, like, but I was kind of interested in how the scythe were killing people and like the scythe history. And again, there's this complex kind of political war between the scythes going on, and there's just so many customs and traditions and a new culture that we got to learn from, and just how they mastered death. That was all really interesting to me. So again, this was just such an interesting novel, and I really want to, you know, kind of read the whole series eventually. I totally recommend this, guys. Like, super good writing and super good twists, and kind of at the end it just got really crazy. All right, next up we have The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. The Infernal Devices series is, the first one's called Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. So this series is just one that I really loved, you know, from the Shadowhunters Chronicles of, you know, Cassandra Clare writes all these books about this one kind of genre, kind of one breed of called the Shadowhunters, and they all hunt demons and stuff. And this one particular series from that kind of set of series I just really enjoy because it has such a specific tone and kind of mood to it that I really love. And so this book is about this girl named Tessa Gray who crosses the ocean to find her brother, and then gets kidnapped by these dark sisters, but then gets rescued by these shadow hunters, and all of a sudden she gets thrust into this life of shadow hunters, of hunting down demons and, you know, going through some weird ordeals and trying to find her brother, and overall this big grand kind of scheme unfolds. And so I really love this story. The characters are just amazing. I love the love triangle. It kind of held a lot of tension, and then there's the suspense that was building up, the mystery, the setting of like the Victorian era in London. It was amazing. I loved the feel of this whole thing, and yes, I just really can't wait to kind of reread the Shadowhunters stuff at a later date. I have to get all the books and stuff, but yeah, this book is so amazing, and it's just a great addition to the Shadowhunters Chronicles. Okay, so this next book that I just really love is the Magnus Chase series by Rick Riordan. I haven't read all of the series. I've only read the first book, but I really enjoyed it so far, and I just couldn't read the full series for a lot of reasons. Like, I didn't have the full series, but now I do. I bought the last book recently, and I'm excited to dive into the full series, but this is just based on the first book. And so I really love this book. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically there's this homeless kind of kid named Magnus Chase who in literally a day his whole life changes, or should I say his whole death changes, because basically this whole plot kind of unfolds where his uncle starts looking for him one day, and he takes them basically to his death, and it's like weird. So Magnus is homeless because his mom and his dad are both dead. His dad, I think, is just not there anymore, and his mom got killed by some like wolves, I guess, in his childhood, and now those kind of monsters are kind of coming after him again when he's 14 and coming to kill him. And so again, his uncle kind of finds him, tells him, and he needs to get this sword, and he needs to fight for his life basically because he doesn't want another member of his family to die. And so Magnus, you know, gets the sword, but then he does end up getting killed, but he doesn't kind of get died. He gets reborn into this amazing sprawling mansion, and then his life gets upturned again. And so basically it's just a bunch of his life, like, you know, going in shambles and like totally changing all the course of this book. And there's just these amazing plot twists. But I really love this book for the Norse mythology. I didn't really like the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan, which is a huge unpopular book opinion, but I think the Greek mythology is just it's just kind of bland. Like, the Norse mythology is so funny, and how Rick Riordan kind of ties it in. I also liked how this book is a lot for like older audiences, because Percy Jackson was just too childish for me, and then this one's actually more real and kind of dense and more dark to me, and I just really like that. And then Norse mythology, again, this is just such a funny book because, you know, the Norse characters are just so kind of funny funny, and they all have these unique personalities, and I just really enjoyed this book. It is really funny and really sweet, and I can't wait to finish the series. Alright, next up is The Giver by Lewis Lowry. I find myself reading this so many times throughout the year. So many times. It's like a short book, but it's so sweet, and it is so kind of, needed for a lot of people. I really like these dystopian society kind of things. And so this book is about this boy named Jonas who lives in this world where there is no color, there is no pain. It's again like just a really kind of dry and like bland world. And so Jonas is living through, the cycles of, through the cycles, like every year he gets promoted to a new age and he gets a new thing. And so he's just living through that cycle of going to school, getting a job. And so this book takes place on his 12th year, where his 12 or 14, can't remember, it's either his 12th or 14th year. And this year he gets to pick his job. And so everything just goes kind of out of whack when he is not chosen for like a normal regular job. He is chosen for the honor of being the receiver of memories. And so he actually starts to feel color and pain because he gets to work with the giver who is giving him memories of the past when there was color. And so I think this is taking place in the future where, they've just again mastered death, kind of like Scythe. And yeah, it's a pretty good novel. It's just basically about how, memories and sometimes, like bad things like war and stuff, that can be a bad memory, but it is needed in society to kind of guide them. And it's just, I don't really know how to explain this book. It's so complicated, but it is just definitely a really good dystopian, futuristic kind of novel. And I just find myself reading it a lot because again, it is so short and sweet, and it's also really just kind of like a classic novel. Like it's kind of 20 years old, I believe. And so it's just a really good book. Totally recommend it. Next up is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This series is absolutely amazing. It is real, it is emotional, it is raw, it is gripping. The plot lines are amazing. The character arcs are well developed and beautiful. And overall, this story is just a masterpiece, and I love it. And I highly recommend you guys check this one out. This book is about this assassin who's now working in the salt mines of Vandover after she was caught, of course, and she gets this chance by the prince to go back into her homeland and compete in this competition with 23 other killers, soldiers, and thieves to become the king's champion, basically the assassin for the king to, kind of take down the king's opponents, basically. And so now she, of course, accepts this offer, and so she's whisked away in a carriage into this new world, this new life to, get back in shape, to defeat 23 other contestants, and she does that so well. But then magic starts to stir in this environment. In a world with no magic, this magic starts to stir, and Selena starts to get kind of wrapped up in this mystery with these different kind of magical creatures and monsters, and she has to solve this mystery as well as keeping her spot in this competition. And so she's wrapped up in this amazing kind of duel like competition. She has to keep her spot in the competition as well as unraveling this mystery and trying to stay alive. So like there's this amazing kind of component, and I really enjoyed the story with all this romance and all the plot lines. Again, it's really such an amazing story, and this is only the first book. Like it continues, and the series just gets way amazing, and I just need you guys to read this. It is an amazing story, and I just really like it. It's so cozy, and it's like you read it so quick. It's like wow. And I do plan to reread this sometime. So the next book that I'll be talking about will be Aragon by Christopher Paolini. And guys, like I cannot tell you how much I love this book. Like I think about it all the time. I get nostalgia, and I'm going to be rereading this in the spring. I meant to reread this in the winter. That didn't happen. I will be rereading this in the spring. I'll put everything on hold for this because that's how much I love it. And you guys will be hearing a lot from me about this story as we go through the year. I always get nostalgic about it. Like I love this story so much, and I have to reread it. It's such an amazing adventure, and oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I got to read it. Like, oh my gosh. This story is about this boy named Aragon who lives in this world called Alagasia, where there's this kind of tyrannical king, and there's these monsters kind of scrawling across the land. Aragon picks up this blue stone in the mountains one day, and it actually turns out to be a dragon egg. So when it hatches, Aragon has to kind of completely uproot his life and because the monsters attack his uncle and his brother. He attacks his, because the monsters come to, you know, steal the egg from Aragon, but end up not finding it and attack his family. And so Aragon is now thrust on this adventure to, you know, seek a vengeance for his family, go through the wild lands of Algasia, go through so many different places and adventure and meet so many people and the world system. Like, I'm literally about to cry. This book is so good and I need you guys to read it at some point. Just try it out. It is definitely one for someone that likes a really thick series or novel. Like, the words on these pages are so small and there's just so many details, and it was written by a 16-year-old. Like, I aspire to even write something close to this. It's amazing and I definitely recommend you guys check it out. And if you guys watched my last video, I really loved Again But Better. As you probably saw in that video, this was such an amazing story, and I kind of can't restrict myself to talking about this for 2 minutes, but I have to. Let me quickly get into a summary. So this girl named Shane really didn't like her college experience, so she kind of starts to travel abroad. She applies for that program. She makes a fake brochure to her parents, and she pursues a kind of major that she really wasn't going to go for. So she was on the pre-med track, but now she's going to be on the creative writing track. So she travels to London, do the creative writing program, get a creative writing internship, and also make some friends and be more social, also get a boyfriend. And so we also kind of see her quirky adventure going through London with her newfound friends, and how her crush with a boy named Pilot goes, and how that romance kind of builds up. And then also this fun magical element that kicks in the second half of the story. This book was really good. Shane was such an enjoyable character to read from, and the message was so powerful to pursue anything that you want. Like, she wanted to be a doctor, but no, in her mind she wanted to be a writer, and so she, you know, pursues her writing, and it just, at the end, it kind of shows how much, if you believe in what you're doing, then you can get there. And I just really like this book, really like this story, and it was just such, you know, a good story, and it really got me into the 2020 mindset. So, you know, go fighting for those dreams and never give up. And so I do want to reread this like every 6 months or so. This is like just such a powerful story, guys, emotional story, and I really resonated with it and related to it. So yeah. Next book. Alright guys, so the next book that I'm going to be talking about is the Keeper of Lost Cities series by Santa Messenger. A lot of you guys know that this is one of my absolute favorite series ever, and I just love the characters, I love the plot, I love the author, I love everything about this series, even coming down to like the creatures in the world. It's just such an amazing series. So this book first takes place with this girl named Sophie Foster, who's a 12-year-old prodigy who's like almost about to go to college, and one day she's at this museum, and this one boy named Fitz comes up to her with her kind of picture in the newspaper and tells her that she's an elf and that she must go to Lost Cities and, you know, live with them. And so then Sophie is automatically launched into this world, has to leave her other family behind, and she gets there, but she's not welcomed very nicely, and there are people even willing to kill her for her secrets because she is not a regular elf. And so this book just takes place with this crazy different plot and these like different evil organizations, and having to take down those organizations and having to live a normal life in Lost Cities and protect who Sophie loves and begins friends with in the series. And there's just so much about this series that I love, and it's just so complicated and amazing, and I love it so much. And it is about to end soon, but you know, it's been a really big trip with over 5 years of reading this series, and I love it. Childhood favorite. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video about me talking about all of these books. Again, I'll just kind of list them off: Aragon, Scythe, The Infernal Devices of the Shadowhunters Chronicles, Throne of Glass, Keeper of the Lost Cities, The Sword of Summer, Again But Better, A Court of Thorns and Roses, The Hunger Games, and The Giver. I really hope you guys enjoyed me talking about all these books. Again, there's no specific order. These are not my top 10 favorite books. I just wanted to tell you guys about these because I absolutely love them. Make sure you guys drop a like on this video. That really does help to support me, and it really kind of, you know, helps me realize what kind of content you guys like and enjoy. So that really does help me. Make sure to drop a like. Also, make sure to go and subscribe to my channel, and if you haven't already, click that notification bell and set it to all, because then you can get notifications every single time I upload, and you can be the first to my new videos. Again, comment down below, have you read any of the books that I've read, or how's your Valentine's Day, or what are your top 10 books, or what are your 10 books that you're loving right now? I would love to hear from you. Also, make sure to click up there for my top 5 favorite fantasy series video if you are interested. It goes a little bit more depth into some of these books, and then there's some new books that you haven't seen before on this kind of list that is in my top 5 favorite fantasy series. You know, those are some more recommendations for you guys if you want. All right, I think that's all I had to say, guys. Remember guys, Valentine's Day is not about having, you know, a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something else. It's more about loving yourself. Guys, I will see you in the next video. Happy reading. Bye!